we're halfway done with the list, and now things start to get more interesting. At least I hope. Starting with the next tournament on this list, Tournament 18, which was filmed in April 2017. Prior to this tournament, I hosted a little contest where people built their own qualifying course, and the top 5 would not only get a shout out and a top spot for the actual tournament, but also get to host their qualifying course as to the Tournament 18 qualifiers, since this was around the time I was getting tired of hosting them myself, plus it was the first tournament to be hosted on the new Roblox terrain. So I figured it would be nice to kick off the new terrain era with more qualifying courses to compete on. As for the actual tournament itself, I'd say it was a pretty good first tournament to be hosted on the new terrain. It was a complete course makeover, and had a fair amount of Stage 1 and Stage 2 clears, with all the All-Stars except one clearing Stage 1. It featured the return of NWoR Roblox Versus, and the last man standing finishing in first place. And it was also the first tournament to be one whole tournament video, distancing from the episode format. The only things I didn't like about this tournament was, once again, only one competitor got to attempt the Mega Incline Crazy Cliffhanger and failed it, and it was a very odd last man standing, but not entirely out of place. So overall, pretty good pros, very few cons, fun tournament in general. Taking the number 9 spot is Tournament 10, which was filmed in August 2014. It was the special 10th anniversary tournament, and the only tournament in which its stages 1 and 2 would feature the ninja killers from the past tournaments. Since tournaments 8 and 9 were major letdowns, I wanted to create a tournament that would hopefully be more exciting, especially since this was the 10th tournament of the course, and this is what I came up with. Thankfully, there are more Stage 1 clears, even though it was the same amount as the Stage 1 clears from Tournaments 8 and 9 combined, but that's not all. The undefeated Elevating Steeples were finally defeated, and by 3 competitors no less, and we finally got to see Stage 3 of the Demon's Revenge era for the first time. It was also the beginning of Faripu's Stage 1 clear streak, and it was yet another tournament where the last man standing finished in first place. Now, what was bad about this tournament? Well, for one thing, the fly command was broken at the time, so I had to film on the ground, which made it difficult to see how certain jumps were done to determine a fail, which also reduced me to having to resort to using the spectate command to record the Stage 2 runs. This was the original retirement run of former star Dusklord 10, and both the returning Step Pillar and Hanging Orbs did the most damage in Stage 1. And they were the first 2 obstacles of Stage 1, which, while it made for less editing work, gave me Tournament 8 vibes, which is never a good thing. In fact, only 31 competitors saw past the Hanging Orbs. So while this special tournament didn't quite turn out as special as I wanted it, it was still, for the most part, a successful tournament in my opinion. Plus, it was just a breath of fresh air for a change of scenery. Coming in at number 8 is Tournament 2, which was filmed in April 2013. I don't have a whole lot to say about this tournament, except it was a lot bigger than I expected, what with having 45 people attending the course, and a reasonable Stage 1 and Stage 2 clear rate. It was also the debut tournament of Ninja Legend Ninja Warrior G4, and the former Roblox Ninja Warrior guy, Fluffy Tails 2011. Also, the tournament didn't end at the Hanging Orbs, like in the tournament before, but at the last obstacle. So, pretty good tournament. The only bad things I had to say about this tournament was, well, I said in this entry that there were 45 competitors, while in the tournament premiere video, I said there were 44. Well, the truth about that is,
I lied.
There were actually 45 competitors that tournament, and that missing competitor, whose name I don't remember because it was lost to time and the run is forever gone, ended up clearing Stage 1. Thus, there were 11 Stage 1 clears as opposed to 10. However, that competitor never showed up to run Stage 2, and thus at the time I decided to cut that competitor from the broadcast and pretend it never happened. I would at least prevent making that mistake again when it happened in Tournament 8, but at the time I didn't know better. Looking back, I wish I had thought of adding it into the broadcast and simply said they didn't show up to run Stage 2. Also, say what you want about my editing and commentary today, but I will admit that my editing and commentary in early 2013 was definitely garbage, especially compared to my editing and commentary in the later tournaments. Other than those problems, this was still a good tournament to me. Now in at number 7 is Tournament 13, which was filmed in June of 2015. Nothing too special regarding the Stage 1 clears, as there were 12, and Faribu became the newest member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clears Club. But as for Stage 2, only 4 stars, whether they were Rising Stars, New Stars, or All-Stars, cleared Stage 1, and Stage 3 consisted of only those 4 stars. Yes, that's a pro. Deal with it. Not to mention, it was the debut of NWoR Roblox Versus. Granted, the whole event was a 1v1, but I digress. Plus, this was the tournament where I started receiving help with management. Well, to be more precise, this was the first tournament where I got into Skype calls during filming, and this was before Discord became popular. This was also the first tournament where I began accepting fan obstacle submissions for the course, namely the Flying Chute by Faripu and the Double Rumbling Dice by Reality Pales. As for the cons, well, the competitors who got past the first half of Stage 2 made the second half look too easy. They might have been, but regardless. Only one competitor went out on the second half of Stage 2, and that was Aussie Bro. And there was quite the shocking disqualification by the last man standing, which in my opinion is not an ideal way to end a tournament. But he was second to last in the run order, so I had to go with it. That's about it, really. Still an enjoyable tournament. Coming in at number 6 is Tournament 11, which was filmed in December of 2014. This was my first Christmas-themed tournament, and the setup for stages 1 and 2 were basically a combination of the killer obstacles from tournaments 9 and 10, retaining obstacles such as the step pillar, the hanging orbs, the slippery twin slants, and the dancing stones, just to name a few. Now, before I get to the pros of this tournament, I'm first going to talk about what I thought to be bad about this tournament. 1. The lack of effort on the intro. I mean, it was just a blank screen with moving snowflakes with the Windows 95 startup sound. Plus, I was playing both versions of the Guile theme during the title sequence, proving that Guile's theme does not go well with everything, despite what the rest of the internet might have to say. 2. A Stage 1 clear by one of the most cringy usernames I've ever seen. 3. Only one competitor cleared Stage 2, and by 1/10 of a second, no less. You can't clear a stage any slower than that, unless you're Brent Steffensen, supposedly. Plus, this tournament ended anticlimactically. Like, after that one competitor ended up winning, the tournament just ended. Like, no celebration, no little party, no interview, nothing. Like, just a clear, and then the credits roll. That's it. What a way to end the year, am I right? Which brings me to what I liked about this tournament. That one competitor who cleared Stage 2 ended up clearing Stage 3 and achieving total victory. So it was basically another last man standing win, which is one of my personal favorite tropes, if you haven't figured that out by now. Plus, it was nice to see more competitors clear Stage 1 this tournament.
Besides that one.
Since there were very few Stage 1 clears in the previous 3 tournaments. Also, this tournament featured the best run ever on this course, and it was the official retirement of the Demon. So overall, despite its flaws, this tournament was still a major success to me. "15 down, 5 to go. Taking the number 5 spot is Tournament 7. I'll get to the filming dates in just a second. For those who were around during Tournament 7 might still remember the story regarding the filming dates. For everyone else, prepare yourselves for a little, quote-unquote, fun fact. This tournament was originally filmed in October 2013 and was the original first Halloween-themed tournament. I have no recollection on how many cleared stages 1, 2, and 3, but I do remember that originally 2 competitors achieved total victory this tournament, those being CG10 and Aussie Bro. So why wasn't this version shown? Well, in November or December of 2013, can't remember when exactly, but just sometime after the original filming for Tournament 7, my old laptop, which contained the runs for the first 7 tournaments, got fried, and instead of moving my files from the older laptop to my newer one at the time, I had to start over from scratch, and the original Tournament 7 never got to see the light of day on YouTube. Sometime after I got my new laptop, I made a poll where I asked people if they wanted me to restart the tournament or make a short text video explaining the result of the original tournament. And surprisingly, a majority of people chose the former. Presumably because most of them wanted a second chance at clearing stage 1 at that tournament. For some reason. So anyway, the remake was filmed in January 2014 and would end up becoming the first tournament of 2014. This would also be the first tournament to have qualifiers, since I was getting more than 100 attempts per tournament at that time, so I kind of needed to trim the fat, so to speak. And this would also be the first tournament where I gave competitors only 1 attempt at the course, as opposed to 2 attempts like I did in the first 6 tournaments. I'll get to why I did that in a minute. But first, the results. 26 competitors would clear Stage 1, which to this day is still the all-time Stage 1 clear record. And if you think that's a big number, it still is, but the original Tournament 7 had more than 30 Stage 1 clears. That much I remember. And this would also be the tournament where Dusklord 10 became the 3rd ever member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clears Club. As for the rest of the tournament, 11 of those 26 would clear Stage 2, which is still the 2nd most Stage 2 clears in a single tournament, and 4 of those 11 would clear Stage 3, which is still the 2nd most Stage 3 clears in a single tournament. I don't recall if there were more Stage 2 and Stage 3 clears in the original Tournament 7, but either way, that's why I only gave 1 attempt at the course going forward. It certainly didn't change the results of Stage 4, as still 2 competitors would achieve total victory, with one of them being CG10, so at least he managed to reclaim his victory, but instead of the second competitor being Aussie Bro, it was Reality Pales, thus becoming a 2-time Grand Champion. Before I move on to the next spot on this list, I want to mention that Roblox Ninja legend NWoR G4 competed in the original Tournament 7, but went out on Stage 1, but he didn't return for the remake and was never seen again. Okay, now on to the next one. Coming in at number 4 is Tournament 17, which was filmed in November of 2016. In terms of what this tournament represented, it was the final tournament to be hosted on the old Roblox terrain before moving the course over to the new terrain that is still being used today. It was also the final tournament to be uploaded in the episode format, as I would then upload all future tournaments in their entirety into one big tournament video, like some other people have been doing. And it would be the first tournament where I would sort of use a script. What I mean by that is, in the past, I've always improvised and said things as they came. The only time I actually used any form of script was for the competitor profiles, even if clips that were being played didn't match what I was saying. But starting this tournament, I would only say key things if need be edited into the profiles to match what I was saying about them. As for the competition, it would tie Tournament 3 for the 2nd most Stage 1 clears in a single tournament. Former star Dev1179 returned after initially retiring after Tournament 13, but came back for old time's sake to officially end his career on a much higher note, which he did by clearing Stage 1 for the first time since Tournament 7. All-star Kyle Ninja 3970, who also hadn't cleared Stage 1 since Tournament 7, ended up clearing Stage 1 this tournament. Aussie Bro made his all-star debut in this tournament and surpassed Faripu in clearing Stage 1 for more consecutive tournaments. And the Mega Incline Crazy Cliffhanger would finally be beaten, and Trust Junction would finally be attempted for the first time ever. My only complaints for this tournament was Faripu achieved his personal worst performance on the course, and despite the Six Flags being nerfed for this tournament, it continued to be the Stage 3 Ninja Killer, which would later result in it being scrapped heading to the new terrain. Oh, and one more thing. Pain, pain, pain! Pain! But in the end, this was a good tournament to end the old terrain era. Taking the bronze spot is Tournament 20, which was filmed in December of 2017. Besides this being the second Christmas-themed tournament, it also celebrated the 20th anniversary of this course. The new obstacles that were introduced were more appealing to me, and the slight reconstruction of the course included less truss supports that hindered certain performances. This tournament also had superb management, which I'm grateful for, and it also featured the brief return of competitors from the old days, such as Dylan JP1111, Monkey Boy 15, Chubbs, and Superior Okami, just to name a few. Bryce_Bry became the newest member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clear Club, and we saw not 1, not 2, but 3 competitors reach the cliffhanger, with 2 of them defeating it, which was the first time since Tournament 14 that more than 1 competitor got to the cliffhanger, let alone defeat it. This was also the tournament where Trust Junction was finally defeated, and we got to see the final obstacle of Stage 3 in action. Granted, both competitors who got there failed the final jump, but it was still nice to see the final obstacle attempted since it's redesigned in Tournament 15 and again in Tournament 18. Speaking of Tournament 18, this tournament matched that tournament Stage 2 clear count. Now for the bad. Mega Arcade Dude 123 and a 95 Mike both accepted invites to compete in this tournament, but neither showed up to do a run. All-Stars Dr. Peepee and Faripu decided not to compete, the latter of the two stating that because he helped in building the Tournament 20 courts, that he'd have full knowledge on how the obstacles functioned and whatnot, thus giving him an unfair advantage, which would be considered cheating. And while I kind of understand that reasoning, it still would have been nice to see him compete in this special tournament. That said, only 2 All-Stars competed in this tournament, and both of them failed Stage 1. Bringing up the next con being that Aussie Bros' Stage 1 clear streak ended, and it being the first time since Tournament 8 in which not a single star would advance to Stage 2. And it matched Tournament 19 Stage 1 clear count. Yes, that's a con now. Just because. And last but not least, this tournament was very competitor profile heavy. No tournament before this one had any more than 9 fluff pieces. Most likely less than that. But this one had 12. On the 12th day of Christmas, Bubba escaped to you. 12 fluff pieces, 11 rolling boulder fails, 10 Stage 1 clears, 9 tournaments of Triple Salmon Ladder has existed, 8 invited competitors, 7 tournament cons, 6 Beam Treatise wins, 5 Stage 1 time-ups, 4 Stage 2 clears, 3 cliffhanger attempts, 2 spots left on this list, and the silver medal for this list. Going to Tournament 6, which was filmed in August 2013. In terms of recording this tournament and the competitor results, this felt more like a real tournament. Like it wasn't too deep into the tournament when people began clearing Stage 1, similar to Tournament 20. Almost every obstacle in Stage 1, aside from the faulty hedgehog and Great Wall, took out a fair amount of competitors, with the step pillar and Tarzan ropes doing the most damage. This was mainly an all-star tournament, with all but 3 of them clearing Stage 1. And Stage 2 did its part with leveling the playing field, except for the first 3 obstacles in which no one failed those. And only the best of the best at the time could handle Stage 2. Dusklord 10 would become a new star heading into the next tournament. Reality Pales and NWoR G4 would both go out on the cliffhanger. So yeah, for the first time in this course's run, this actually felt more like a well-balanced tournament for me. But it wasn't perfect. For 2 of those 3 All-Stars who failed Stage 1, one of them would never compete again after this tournament, and the other one saw their Stage 1 clear streak end. This tournament would also inadvertently mark the end of Roblox Ninja legend Ninja Warrior G4. But regardless of all of that, this was a fun tournament to film, and an even more fun tournament to edit. Coming in at number 1, taking home the gold, and being my most personal favorite tournament of all time, is Tournament 14, which was filmed in October 2015. Much like Tournament 6, this felt a lot like a real, well-balanced tournament in terms of filming and competitor results. While it wasn't as much of an all-star tournament as Tournament 6, as the rate of Stage 1 clears was rather mixed, it saw more top competitors clearing Stage 2. And some of my favorite moments ever on this course were seen in this tournament. Faribu became the first competitor in Ninja Warrior Roblox history to clear Stage 1 for 5 consecutive tournaments, and he achieved a new personal best, which is still his personal best today. And for a second consecutive tournament, Reality Pales reached the final obstacle of Stage 3 before going out on it for a second consecutive tournament. And veteran Look1456 became the first competitor to reach the new version of the final stage, which today is the current version of the final stage, and so far he's the only competitor to reach this stage in this era. While I can't say it was as fun to edit this tournament as Tournament 6, it was still a lot of fun. But recording this tournament was my favorite, and much better than in Tournament 6. As for the cons, I only have 3 problems with this tournament, and none of them are that big a deal. The least of the 3 being the debut of the Six Flags. Although I would have never predicted this would end up being one of the most, if not the most, despised obstacle of Stage 3 of all time, as on its first appearance, it only eliminated 1 of the 6 competitors who attempted it. Only 1! Con number 2, it was the first tournament to exceed the 100 competitor limit, although my defense for that is, I had an uneven number of competitors heading into this tournament, as I had a total of 1,068 attempts on this course heading into this tournament, so I wanted to balance that out as well, and the only fair way to do that was to go beyond 100, starting with having 110 competitors for this tournament and the next, and then 103 competitors for tournaments 16 through 19. Then I would have an even 1,700 attempts heading into tournament 20. And finally, my last con, there was a pretty bad recording of the final stage attempt. For starters, the flight command I used at the time wouldn't allow me to fly straight up, so I had to have my avatar look up in order to fly up, and God forbid I dare not use the spectator command. Second, you can tell I zoomed into Look's avatar a little too closely because I never bothered to turn off the list of people in the lobby and even the chat. And I didn't want any of that shown in the video during the final stage attempt. Surely it never came across my mind to blur them out. But at the end of the day, all that did was lead to a pretty bad view of Look's final stage attempt. So those are the reasons. Not excuses, but they're reasons. Saying that, I guess that was kind of a big deal for me. Oh well, none of that ruins the tournament for me, and I still stand by my decision on this being the best Ninja Warrior of Roblox tournament. So there you have it. What did you guys think? Are there tournaments you liked or disliked more than others? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, because I would love to have discussions regarding this with you all. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you leave a like, and don't forget to share this video so others can enjoy it just like you did. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified on future uploads, whether that be all or occasional ones. And if you want a chance to compete in a future tournament, then join the official Ninja Warrior Roblox Discord server. Link is in the description. Also, if you'd like, you can support me on Patreon to help keep this channel alive. Want to check out some of my other videos, then click one of those boxes on the screen, or that white rectangle on the top right specifically for Ninja Warrior Roblox related content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Until next time, ciao peoples.